Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, South Carolina. Neighbor cut down their tree so that it landed on our property and won't remove it. How can we get them to remove it? I'm posting this on behalf of my mother, so some info might be missing. Feel free to ask if you think there's something you need to know. The tree in question is a very dead white pine that has been dead for over a decade. Our neighbors had complained about the tree somewhere around a month or two ago and were suggesting that we cut down this tree that we knew was on their side of the property line at our expense, because they so graciously cut down another tree on their side of the property line that was dropping tree-sized branches in our yard at their expense a year ago. We know the tree cut down was theirs because of surveys we had done due to a dispute several years ago. They claim it is our tree and claim to have an attorney and an arborist backing them up on this, and yet no surveyor is mentioned. Strange, isn't it? And are asking us to get a surveyor at our expense. We should still have the survey details, but we'd have to dig them out. But I'm not entirely sure it even matters who owns the tree in this case, at least in terms of who is liable. If we're right and it is their tree, then, as far as our research has told us, they have to remove the debris because they deliberately cut it down into our yard. If they're right, then they just trespassed and destroyed our tree, and, well, I'm not sure how much a dead pine tree is worth, but I'd hope costs of removal would be part of the damages. A lot of the communication was done in person, but my mother also has a text message conversation with the neighbor that goes over the important details. I've told her to stop communicating with them for the time being. So, the main questions I'm hoping to have answered here. 1. Who is liable for removing the tree debris? 2. Can we skip the arborist on this one? I mean, we both agree the tree was dead. Neither of us were too attached to it, and I really don't expect a dead pine tree to be valuable, if it's even ours, which we doubt. 3. Will our previous survey info be usable if we end up needing it? 4. What's the least expensive way to get them to remove the tree? We have homeowners insurance, but we're not sure if we would still have to pay the deductible. And since the damages are limited mostly to the tree itself being there, it would likely not even meet the deductible. Update. My post didn't get much attention, but I figure I should post an update, since it did get resolved in a favorable way. This happened a couple weeks ago, but I only had time to post this recently. Since everything we had seen suggested that criminal charges were a possibility, my mother contacted the police and they visited. She told them about the criminal charges aspect, and they said they'd asked the judge about it. The judge said that this was a civil matter, and we thought that was pretty much the end of that, and that we just have to go to small claims over this. However, a removal crew showed up the next day, as if by magic. Our guess is that the neighbor decided we were serious about pursuing this when he saw the cop cars and decided to actually remove the trees. I didn't really expect that, but I'm not going to complain about the issue being resolved at no cost to us. We also discovered that the other tree they were asking us about may be a boundary tree when examining the property line. So we now know tree law and MS Paint for your Sunday, Michigan. Help me convince my brother that this is worth pursuing. A contractor building a house across the street cut down 2 very large trees on my brother's property. The biggest one was a 250-year-old oak tree that was 75 inches in diameter. I don't know why my brother is reluctant to go after this contractor, but can anybody give me some links to success stories I can send him? Maybe something to show him how much this might be worth. I know from many happy hours on r/Legaladvice that he is going to need a survey and an estimate of value from an arborist. One additional wrinkle which gives me an excuse to post a gratuitous shitty MS Paint drawing is that the tree is actually on the neighbor's side of the street, but my brother's property extends across the street, so the entire street and the tree in this area is on my brother's property. The tree is presumably on an easement of some sort, so the city could remove it if they wanted, but there is no question that the contractor removed it, not the city. Would this change the legal situation at all? Update: the case is over. My brother accepted a settlement of $89,000 full update. Yes, friends, I'm back with an update after many long months. I did not forget about you. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they do turn. As I said, my brother accepted a settlement. This was reached through an alternative dispute resolution (ADR) process called case evaluation that is apparently used here in Michigan. You can read more about this process here. PDF warning. But essentially both sides provide a max 20-page summary and a 15-minute oral presentation to a panel of 3 lawyers. No witnesses or evidence per se, although attachments, documents are allowed. The panel then comes up with a dollar amount that they think the case is worth. Both sides then have the option to accept or reject the settlement and go to trial. I was hoping to be able to watch an actual trial, but alas it was not to be. There is a possibility of significant penalties if you reject the settlement and then don't beat it by at least 10% in court, so I understand my brother's reasoning in accepting the settlement. It turns out, not unexpectedly, that the settlement will be coming from the contractor's insurance company, so hopefully collection will not be an issue. Another outcome of this case is that my brother, who is not a Redditor, is now using the phrase "pound sand" in casual conversation. Order to my building died. She was infested with cockroaches. They are literally pouring out into the hall now. My building keeps telling me to file maintenance requests and has ignored most of my calls since November. I am being financially impacted now. Toronto, Canada. As the title says, there is a cockroach problem in my building, but specifically on my floor. A woman 2 units down from me had dementia and recently died in her apartment. I knew something was wrong because I began to smell something in the hall. She had been in there 4 days. While she was alive, the building had tried to address the pest infestation in her apartment, as it began spreading quite rapidly. Anytime they tried to spray, she refused to let them in, and I believe it's because she was mentally unwell. They served her an eviction notice, but she died before the 90 days, I think. She was always wearing the same thing and was dirty all the time. I called the LIN, Local Health Integration Network, the city, and anytime I had someone lined up to help her, she would refuse to let them in, even though she would initially agree. She would speak to my wife but not me, but then forget everything she told my wife or that my wife said to her. We tried to help her, but she would forget who we were. It genuinely makes me quite sad. Anyway, she has died, and they have been unable to locate any relatives. She literally had no one. Last night I came home, and there were literally cockroaches covering her door and all over the hallway. Adults, babies, and every other size. I called building management, and they keep telling me to put in a maintenance request. This has been their solution to every call we have placed. Better than that, they also keep telling me to get her to put one. In case you weren't reading, she is dead. They haven't even gone in to clean her apartment yet, and a few days after the mailman delivered something and left her mail slot ajar, making the whole hallway smell of death. They refuse to deal with this problem, and I'm very angry. My dog and cat have started eating roaches in our apartment, and I have had to ask some friends to care for them temporarily. I pay a lot of money to live here, and I am ready to threaten legal action, as we have been financially inconvenienced and we have been deprived of the quiet enjoyment of our unit. I don't know what to do. I am at a loss, and any advice would be appreciated. Update. First, I want to thank everyone who provided me with some very solid advice that has led to a resolution my wife and I are quite happy with. I've been very active on Reddit the last couple months as a means of support, as stupid as that might sound, and you all came through. It has been a very difficult few months for my wife and myself due to some other reasons, so the cockroach problem really pushed us over the edge. I digress, as there is a happy update. Through the advice I received on this subreddit, I contacted the city and the health department right away. I was contacted almost immediately by a bylaw officer who asked me some more detailed questions. The more we spoke, the more interested he became. He called and asked me if I were to walk by deceased neighbor's unit, would I be able to see cockroaches coming out of the door? To which I replied 150%. He then asked me when she passed, and if, to my knowledge, there had been a biohazard cleaning all the building management sent their cleaners up to my floor to clean up all the diatomaceous earth we had put in front of my door. I went out and asked them why. They told me they were instructed to because they don't want people panicking, etc. I told them they were to leave it there, as I have called the city and they are on their way. They didn't seem happy. As if the whole floor isn't already in a panic anyway. Literally every door now has diatomaceous earth in front of it now. I also made sure to let the bylaw officer know their solution so far has been to vacuum our floor multiple times a week with the same vacuum and then use the vacuum on other floors. I have learned now we are not the only floor with cockroaches now. This lack of care or concern about the cockroaches has just been pure negligence on their part. I explained to the bylaw officer that the building kept telling us They could not legally enter the apartment and do anything. According to Toronto health and bylaws, that is bullshit. The situation is a public health hazard, and therefore my building management could have taken action sooner but for some reason chose not to. The bylaw officer on the phone gave me a pretty good understanding of how these things should work, and let me tell you, it is drastically different from the information I have been receiving from the building management. The bylaw officer became very concerned throughout the course of our phone call and said he would have to contact some people and then call me back. I heard nothing until Monday. Come Monday morning, I get a loud knock at the door from my building super saying that Wednesday they are coming to completely spray and gut the hoarder's apartment. They will also be spraying the hallways and likely replacing the carpet entirely. The cockroaches are also under the wallpaper as well. I'm guessing whoever he called laid the law down for my building management. The city has been here every day since, and suddenly we are getting all these visits from head office, claiming they had no idea how bad things were. I do not believe them at all. We have all our evidence compiled to disprove building management's claims that they didn't know, and will be handing it over. From what I understand from the bylaw officer, this is going to be quite a headache for building management. Now that the city and health department are involved, they must produce a lot of paperwork and comply with the orders given to them with hard deadlines. I have the personal contact information for the officer I spoke with, and he has been incredibly attentive and helpful. We went from submit a maintenance request to we are gutting the whole apartment and treating your unit immediately, in literally 48 hours after months of fighting and stress. Thank you so much, Reddit. I couldn't have done it without your help. Here is hoping the next few months continues on a more upward trajectory. Thanks for listening.